the shocking story of Sporus, Rome's tragic bride. Welcome back to Historical Mysteries, where we explore the most shocking and disturbing stories from ancient history. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into one of Rome's darkest tales that reveals the absolute horror of unchecked imperial power. Before we begin this incredible journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because you definitely don't want to miss our upcoming episodes. And if this story affects you as much as I think it will, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Today's story takes us to 64 AD, into the Golden Palace of Emperor Nero, where we meet a young freedman named Sporus. His extraordinary beauty would become both his greatest asset and his ultimate curse. This is the shocking story of Rome's most tragic bride. Picture ancient Rome at the height of its power. Marble columns reach toward the heavens. Golden statues line the streets, and at the center of it all sits Emperor Nero in his magnificent palace. But beneath all this splendor lurks a darkness that would consume an innocent young man named Sporus. By 64 AD, Nero had already established himself as one of history's most notorious rulers. His reign was filled with artistic pretensions, political paranoia, and increasingly unstable behavior. But it was the death of his beloved wife, Poppaea Sabina, in 65 AD that would trigger the most shocking episode in Roman imperial history. My beautiful Poppaea, with your golden hair and perfect skin, you were the jewel of my empire, and now you're gone forever because of my rage. Poppaea had been renowned throughout the empire for her extraordinary beauty. Ancient historians describe her as having flawless features that made her the envy of all Roman society. Her death, reportedly caused by Nero himself during a violent argument, left the emperor devastated and consumed by guilt. I must find a way to bring her back. The gods cannot be so cruel as to leave me without her beauty in this world. Unable to cope with his loss, Nero became fixated on finding someone who could replace his dead wife. His grief-stricken mind conceived a plan that would shock even the most jaded members of Roman society. Enter Sporus, a young freedman in Nero's household, barely into his teens when he first caught the emperor's attention. What made Sporus both remarkable and ultimately doomed was his extraordinary physical resemblance to the late Empress Poppaea. I serve in Caesar's household, grateful for my freedom, hoping only to live quietly and earn my keep through honest work. Sporus possessed the same delicate features, similar golden hair, and naturally soft appearance that made the resemblance to Poppaea absolutely uncanny. Once Nero noticed this similarity, the young man's fate was sealed forever. Look at this boy. The gods have answered my prayers. He has her face, her hair, her very essence. Through him, I can bring my beloved back to life. What Nero planned next was unprecedented in Roman history and shocking beyond imagination. He decided to transform Sporus into a physical replica of Poppaea through surgical intervention that would fundamentally alter the young man's body and destroy any possibility of a normal life. "Caesar, what you ask is dangerous and unnatural. The procedures you describe could kill the boy, and they violate every principle of medical practice. I don't care about your principles. I am divine. I command life and death itself. You will transform this boy into my bride, or you will face the consequences of disobedience." The castration of Sporus was carried out by imperial physicians in what can only be described as one of history's most disturbing acts of imperial cruelty. The procedure was performed without the victim's consent, designed to feminize his appearance and voice. "Please, I beg you, don't do this to me. I've done nothing wrong. I just want to serve faithfully and live in peace. Pain is temporary, my dear, but the beauty we're creating will be eternal. Soon you will be perfect, just like my beloved Poppaea was." This surgical mutilation wasn't performed for medical reasons or as punishment for any crime. It was purely to satisfy the emperor's psychological obsession with recreating his dead wife through another human being. What followed was even more shocking than the surgery itself. Nero proceeded to marry Sporus in an elaborate public ceremony that scandalized all of Roman society, from the highest senator to the lowest citizen. By the ancient rites, and in the presence of the gods, I join these two in the bonds of sacred matrimony. Long live Caesar, long live the new empress. The emperor dressed his victim in traditional bridal attire, complete with the flame-colored veil and precious jewelry that had once adorned the real Poppaea. The wedding ceremony was conducted with all the pomp and ritual of a legitimate imperial marriage. They cheer for a ceremony that mocks everything sacred. They celebrate my destruction while calling it a wedding. As Nero's supposed wife, Sporus was given the title of Augusta and treated with the external appearance of imperial dignity. He was dressed in the finest silks, attended by servants, and expected to participate in court ceremonies as if he were truly the Empress of Rome. I wear these jewels like chains, these silks like a prison uniform. Every day I must pretend to be someone I'm not, someone who's already dead. However, this apparent elevation was nothing more than an elaborate cage. Sporus had no real power, no choice in his circumstances, and absolutely no escape from his bizarre and humiliating situation. The Roman public's reaction to Sporus was complex and often mercilessly cruel. While some citizens pitied his obvious victimization, others mocked him as a living symbol of Nero's degeneracy and madness. This is what our empire has become. Our emperor marries a mutilated boy and parades him as an empress. The gods will surely punish such sacrilege. Speak quietly, friend. Those who question Caesar's divine wisdom have a habit of disappearing in the night. Sporus became more than just a victim of Nero's personal obsessions. He became a powerful symbol of imperial corruption and the terrifying dangers of absolute, unchecked power over human lives. By 68 AD, Nero's reign was collapsing under the weight of his excesses, military failures, and growing opposition from both the elite and common people. When rebellions broke out across the empire, Nero found himself virtually friendless and facing inevitable defeat. Caesar, the Praetorian Guard, has declared you an enemy of Rome. General Galba's armies approach the city. This cannot be. I am beloved by the gods. I am the greatest artist who ever lived. Even the gods grow tired of cruelty. Nero, your reign of madness is finally ending. When Nero committed suicide in June 68 AD, Sporus was left in an impossible position. The new emperors who followed were eager to distance themselves from Nero's legacy, but Sporus remained as a living, breathing reminder of the previous regime's horrific excesses. Remove this abomination from my sight. This creature represents everything that was wrong with my predecessor's rule. After Nero's death, Sporus's story took yet another tragic turn. Emperor Otho, who ruled briefly in 69 AD, reportedly took Sporus as his own companion, perhaps motivated by the same physical attraction that had originally doomed the young man. You remind me of someone I once knew, someone I loved before Nero stole her from me. Perhaps through you, I can recapture some of what was lost. I am not her, Caesar. I am not anyone anymore. I am simply the ghost of dead dreams and broken promises. This continuation of his exploitation under a new emperor demonstrated that Sporus was seen not as a person deserving freedom and dignity, but as property to be transferred from one ruler to another. The ultimate fate of Sporus grew even more tragic. When Emperor Vitellius came to power, he reportedly planned to force Sporus to participate in a public spectacle that would complete his humiliation before the Roman people. The people demand entertainment. This false empress will provide it in the arena, playing the victim for their amusement. I have endured the madness of emperors, survived when death would have been mercy, but I will not become a spectacle for the mob's entertainment. Rather than endure this final degradation, Sporus chose to end his own life. His suicide was both an escape from unbearable circumstances and a final assertion of personal dignity in the face of systematic dehumanization. In death, I finally choose my own path. No emperor can command my spirit, no matter how they've broken my body. The story of Sporus serves as a dark mirror reflecting the absolute nature of imperial power in ancient Rome. His fate shows us how completely emperors could control their subjects' lives, turning human beings into instruments of personal gratification without any regard for dignity or humanity. While Sporus's story is extreme, it reflects broader patterns within the Roman system where people were considered property, their bodies and lives subject to their masters' every whim and desire. The shocking story of Rome's tragic bride continues to resonate because it touches on fundamental questions about power, identity, and human worth that remain relevant today. In remembering Sporus, we honor not just his memory, but all those who have suffered under systems that treat people as disposable objects. What do you think about this incredible story from ancient Rome? Does it change your perspective on imperial power and its victims? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this historical deep dive fascinating, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more shocking stories from the past. Until next time, keep exploring history's darkest mysteries. Egyptian pharaohs were considered married to the goddesses of Egypt. Female pharaohs navigated this by emphasizing their roles as divine mothers and protectors of the realm. The forgotten world of Egypt's female pharaohs teaches us profound lessons about power, gender, and the deliberate construction of historical narratives. For over 3,000 years, women regularly ruled one of history's most powerful civilizations as absolute monarchs, military leaders, and living goddesses. They built monuments that still inspire awe, led armies to victory, and governed millions of subjects with divine authority. These remarkable women were systematically erased from history, not because they failed as rulers, but because they succeeded too well. Their achievements threatened male-dominated power structures that preferred to pretend women had never wielded such authority. Every time we discover another forgotten female pharaoh, we're reminded that women's exclusion from power hasn't been natural or inevitable. It's been artificial and deliberately constructed. These ancient queens prove that women have always been capable of absolute leadership. During their reigns, Egypt experienced some of its greatest periods of prosperity, artistic achievement, and territorial expansion. Their success demonstrates that diverse leadership strengthens rather than weakens civilizations. Egypt's female pharaohs didn't just rule. They ruled extraordinarily well. Their stories were hidden, but their achievements were real. These forgotten queens remind us that women have always been capable of absolute power. We just haven't always been allowed to remember them. Today, we choose to remember, honor, and learn from the remarkable women who ruled as gods in ancient Egypt.